Oh boy, did I miss the sound of our pre-match graphic. It's been a while since
How does that
my
not?
last pre-match, Gordo. But yeah, great to have you, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers pre-match here for Liverpool versus Spurs EFL Cup semi-final. In case y'all have forgotten, we're actually in the semi-final of a competition here, just a few games away before we're headed to Wembley. With me, as always, my buddy from the Wednesday show, Gordo. Um, Listen, so I've been thinking before I got on here. There's a little bit of nerves, at least on my end. Obviously, it's a semifinal. We're playing, still despite the struggle, still one of the better teams in the league, and we're practically, I would say, a win and a non-loss away from practically a trophy. And you wouldn't think it given the discussions that's gone on in. So before we get to the lineups, go to any nervousness coming on your end, considering how close we are.
Yeah, you have to be nervous or you're not alive, right? I feel like
Right.
if you love the club, we can talk about all day long, and I'm one of them. That's like the EFL Cup, the Carabao, the whatever, the Mickey
Yeah.
Mouse Cup, the Coca-Cola, whatever you still call it. Um, we talk about it'd be nice to win, but it's not. It doesn't really matter that much, Like it's a good trophy to have. It's mid-season. It kind of can boost your second half of the season form. Um, we could play it down as much as we want, but it's still a trophy, and it's still nice to win.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and obviously, you get to this stage, and I feel like if you're not nervous, you're not a little worried about it or concerned with it, then you're not living. So I'm with you. There is a little bit of nervousness. It is Spurs. They can be good on their day. They've upset some good teams in the past, but we seem to have their number. I'm going to knock on wood and do a little rain dance, but
Right.
it's definitely a team that we've had some joy against in the past.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of nervousness, let me get over here with American Scouts. There's resident conspiracy theorist Thursday. What's going on, man? It's good to see you. It's been a minute. Gordo and I were talking, before you came in. Before this pre-match started, there was a little bit of nervousness on my end, man, considering we're just, a few games away from going to Wembley. Are you feeling any of that nerves? Because listen, as Gordo mentioned, we kind of have Spurs' number here, but it's over two legs. Anything can happen. So are you feeling a bit of nerves or you're pretty confident considering how we played them over like a month ago with that 6-3
Uh,
win?
no, I mean, I was confident on Sunday, bearing in mind Man United's present run up until Sunday. So no, I'm going to revert back to type and just be nervous and just be pessimistic, and anything else is a bonus.
Right. But listen, we get off to a good start here, then we're pretty much halfway there is the good news. So let's get to the lineups, gentlemen. Obviously, Gordo, you and I did some of the predictions this morning. This is pretty, I would say, like we got 9 out of 11, I would say, because I think you went with Nunez over Jota and Trent over Bradley, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So obviously, and you can talk about those two as well. Any surprises with the starting 11? Because this is a very strong team, mind you, and it's pretty much Arnie saying like, "Yeah, I want to win this trophy."
Yeah, it definitely is. It's there's a little bit of rotation in there, but I think the rotation is needed. With Costas and Robertson, I think that's one that you need. On paper, at the beginning of the season, not our strongest lineup, but as things have shaken out, it's definitely up there. I want to point out that you and I did say Bradley, and we had our opinions changed by Tamuchin
Right. Okay.
with Trent. So you and I did get that one correct. I felt that this would be a good game for him to come back in, and Tamuchin convinced me that it'd be a good game for Trent to reassert himself and be like, hey guys, I'm still a part of this. I still want to be here, as well as he didn't feel like Bradley was fully match fit. So I guess we'll find out in the next couple of minutes here if Bradley's up to the challenge. But I initially did want him to be in the lineup. So
Right. Absolutely. Cersei, I don't remember you talking about your predicted lineup earlier in the comments this morning, but what do you make of this lineup here? Anyone that you would change out or you're content with it?
I would have played Kelleher. I think it's unfair on him. From a personal perspective, I mean, even prior to Allison coming back in, apart from the Newcastle game where he made that little blunder, like he's been phenomenal. So I'm really surprised. This is his tournament. He's got more League Cup medals than most of the league teams put together. So I'm surprised he's not playing. Uh, yeah, I wanted Bradley to play. I think I was on the same wavelength as you guys. You know, he needs some minutes, and I think Bradley plays against Accrington as well, unless he just uses Accrington as a training game for the big guns and warm them up for Forest. But I don't know. It's Slot. He's very unpredictable. You think he's going to do one thing and it does completely the opposite. So, but yeah, I mean, I can understand them playing if he's going to heavily rotate against Accrington. And Bradley deserves his minutes. He came in for like last 5-10 minutes against Man United, and he put on a better performance than Trent did the whole game. So yeah, it's good. It's a good lineup. And again, surprised Nunes isn't playing, but Jota needs his minutes as well.
Spencer is here saying, "Hey all, come on you Reds, come on you Reds." Indeed, Spencer, good to have you with us. Gordo, so Nunez, right? We were talking about it this morning against a pretty makeshift Spurs backline, and we're gonna get to that lineup shortly. But the fact that he's probably not starting this game, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like a death knell to his Liverpool career, just a slow but sure kind of like packing it in. Yeah, thanks for everything, but we're gonna move on from you. But come summer, but it's really surprising, or do you think it's surprising, or maybe Slot is going with, as Timuchin mentioned this morning, kind of like a 60-30 or even 45-45 kind of deal here with Nunez obviously not going to be available for the Forest game. It's just, well, at least for me personally, it's all the more surprising that he's not getting the start over Jota here. Um, so what do you think? What say you? Because obviously you predicted that Nunez would come in.
Yeah, and you look at this without emotion involved, and doing a 60-40 or a 70-30 is great. But when you're a fully fit guy, it's one thing to do it when like, oh, I'm just coming back in, I need some minutes, and you can totally accept that. When you're fully fit and you've been fully fit, and the gaffer tells you, you're only going to get 40 or 30 minutes here. I'm going to start somebody who's coming back from injury. That is a death nail. Death nail in your career with the club, I think. And honestly, I said that I'd put Nunes out here because this is the final. I've been done with him for, as everyone on this channel and Discord knows, I've been done with him for a very long time. But I would feel this is the sink or swim. This is the get out in the ocean with the waves. And if you cannot produce with a makeshift back four, like I described it earlier this morning, of like, and Big Ange has a hat with names in it. He picks them out, and that's how he chooses his back four, because they've got 10 guys on injured right now, and then not their starting center back. So this would be the game that's like, you can't do anything here. Like, sorry, but like you've sealed your own fate. However, you look at this from Slot's perspective. He brings in Nunes to do something. All he does is nothing at the weekend. Right. Didn't help us out. Got a dumb yellow card for pushing, and his eyes weren't even on the ball when he did it. Just unnecessary, kind of summed up the thoughts of most of the fans. And you got this other guy that is probably going to be a big piece. If you're looking at winning multiple trophies this year, you're going to want Jota firing. And if he's healthy, this is a good game to get him revved up and get some opportunities to play and score. So, I mean, emotions aside, I would always choose Jota over Nunes, but it would be I would feel like this would be the calling card of like, it's in your hands, do something. If you can't do it here, then you really don't deserve, and you have nothing to complain about. You've been given 3 years.
Right, 100%. Brian is here with us. Hi, Brian. He said he'll play against Accrington Stanley unless Jaden Dan somehow plays ahead of him. Well, I guess I mean the nails were already in the coffin, but then that's just hammering the nails at that point, Cersei.
That would be cremation.
Yeah, that was
just incinerator. You're done.
Right. That's just hammering it multiple times and making sure he's not gonna ride. You might as well put a stake through his heart as well, so he won't come up as the undead. Cersei, I'm assuming you're pretty much on the same camp with Nunes, or you feel like this could have been a great game for him to maybe rediscover some form, bag some goals, considering how open Spurs are.
I think he comes on for Jota, either 50 or 60 minutes into the game. I think Jota, he hasn't played enough minutes to get a full 90 out of him. I think if he was going to play Jota, me just, I'm still trying to be positive with Nunes, and maybe I've played him on the left wing and given Gravenberch a rest. Really can't argue with slot selections. I think the only one he's made a boob with, and not in terms of it's going to cost us the game. Just on the person, I would have played Kelleher. That's the only one I question, and that's just more personnel reason than that Alisson will cost us or whatever.
We're talking about the lineup as well in terms of the selections here, and it's pretty much standard. But Jones again in that 10 role wasn't his best performance against Man United, and I did forget to mention about our predictions. I mentioned we went 9 for 11, Gordo. We did mention Harvey Elliott, I believe, in
I
that
did, yeah.
10 role. Yeah, we did mention Harvey Elliott there, but him starting, him not starting, and Slot kind of going with Jones over here means that okay, so kind of figures the Man United game as a bad game, and he still fully trusts him in that position. Do you agree with Arnie there? Because personally, I think Jones is better as a holder, partnering with either Gravenberg or McAllister when he has more time on the ball. Because it looks like against teams that won't give you time, like Man United did over the last weekend, he kind of struggles. So maybe this is the opportunity for him to, kind of get back some goodwill, or Arnie, or you think Arnie just like, yeah, that's just a bad game. I fully trust him in this role.
Yeah, two things. Obviously, Szoboszlai is not healthy, and it could be that Elliott isn't 90-minute full fit yet, and so he's not ready to start the game. He's ready to come on as help, and so Jones is his only option in that role, and so his hands might have been forced. The other thing is against West Ham, he was phenomenal. Like that was the Jones, I think that everybody it was. I think it was Timuchin on one of the shows that had just said like, I had trouble remembering that it wasn't Szoboszlai. I kept, oh wait, it's Jones. Hang on, because he did almost the identical thing during the game. And so that was a phenomenal game for him. So you trust him in that role, and then you look as a manager, you probably look at that United game and go, I couldn't even give you 5 players that I felt they played well throughout. And so you give a pass to everybody because something's off. Whether it's the weather, whether it was United was more up for the occasion. Who knows? Maybe they were overconfident, but the whole team didn't act well. And so, singling out one person for having a bad game and not giving them start when you gave Salah the start, who he didn't have a good game. Virgil van Dijk, I would assume that he didn't have a good game because he was getting under a lot of pressure. We saw Konate not play very well. Trent obviously put him under a lot of pressure, but he gets a start. Gravenberch didn't have a really great game. He's starting. So, how could you justify not starting Jones? My thought is probably Elliott is looking at starting at the weekend, and he's not fully match fit, so you don't want to play him too much. So it was kind of his only option.
Yeah, perfectly logical, and I never thought of that. So yeah, that's actually a good explanation there. Timuchin is here saying that Nunes and Case all come off the bench, I think, and start on the weekend. That's a good point. But before moving on to the Spurs lineup, Sergi, do you have anyone here who you would say would probably be the difference, the match winner for us, if you will? Kind of like, because obviously when we beat Spurs 6-3, I think it was Trent who was like the outlet there on that right, delivering balls from Diaz, and then he got Salah as well on that right. But who do you have here as your kind of, obviously we're watching all the players, but who do you have a microscope on?
The microscope will be on Jones just to see how he obviously performs after the Man United game. And I think Jones got away with a lot because Trent's contract situation made him the highlight, because Jones was just as poor. He was non-existent. And, the fact that he just highlighted why we need Szoboszlai. And, obviously you guys know I was Szoboszlai's biggest critic at the beginning of the season, and now starting to see, why Slot kept faith in him. So yeah, definitely Jones, he needs to have a big performance. But in terms of highlights, you can't go against Salah or Gakpo. They're both firing on form, and Gakpo scored 10 goals this season. He's it's only 3 or 4 less than Salah. So and they're both in good form. So those are the two positively look out for, definitely.
Yeah. Before we move on to the Spurs lineup, Gordo, anyone here player to watch under the microscope for you?
I don't think it's necessarily a player to watch. I would like to see like Bradley kind of continue the 10 minutes that he gave us at United and have a really great game, because this is the matchup that Trent had a great game. There was the fantastic pass. I feel like he was the guy that was pulling all the strings from the back, and so I think, like we had even already said on this segment, is like he might have been the person to choose because he's already played well against them, and it kind of like his talents suit the opposition. So for Bradley to have a good game here, it's one of those like, all right, I think we're okay if Trent does decide, if his head's already out the door, which I'm still on the fence of whether it's just a media thing, because Real Madrid do this all the time when they just flood media and they kind of change your opinions on players and things like that, and the fan base goes against certain players. So I'm still on the fence of whether or not he wants to be here, but Bradley having a good game would be phenomenal. But I think as a Spurs fan, I'd be looking at that bench and going, looking at your injury list and then looking at our bench and going, man, we've got no chance here.
Right, absolutely. We still got Chiesa, who hasn't yet, gotten off the ground running, and he's still hungry. He's still looking for that first goal and everything. So, got some good options there off the bench. Of course, Darwin Nunez, Luis Diaz, and all that. Kevin says here the Gakpo was great versus Scum. Long may it continue. Let's go to the Spurs lineup here. That's still the Liverpool lineup. My mistake. Okay, there we go. There's the Spurs lineup right there. Practically, if I'm not mistaken, because that was a few weeks ago, practically familiar faces, Sergi, from the team that we took apart 6-3 at the same stadium a few weeks ago. But obviously, these guys, Kulusevski in particular, put in a great shift against us, even though they got blown away. He is my player to watch, but with this Spurs lineup, as vulnerable as they are at the back, that attacking front line with a Kulusevski, Solanke, Son, that is still a pretty, pseudo world class attack force. So, who would you say here you think Liverpool should probably double down on or focus on?
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it on the head. That front three is similar to when we had Rodgers, when we had Sturridge, Coutinho, and Suarez, and I mean that's what this team kind of echoes. We were shit in the back and great up front, and they've got this new keeper Kinski. So I haven't seen him. I don't know what he's like. So it's a big game for him to start. I think he just signed a couple of days ago, right? I believe. Can't remember. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a different game to the one in the league. I think Spurs they only know how to play one way. But then, a part of me thinks, okay, Big Ange is probably just going to call our bluff now and maybe just change it up a little bit and just surprise everyone. But we shouldn't really fear them considering the quality we have, like from, keeper to up front. But yeah, that front three is enough to scare any team in the league, really.
Absolutely. Anand says this will be an open game. We'll score 4 and 5. Watch it become a low-scoring affair, probably 2-1 Liverpool or something. And we're gonna go back to this comment. I love you, Anand. I'm just kidding around. And he said he signed 2 days ago for the gentleman that you were talking about, Sergi. On that note, Gordo, obviously, to Sergi's point, they only know how to play one-way Spurs. What do you think they need to do? Like, take the Liverpool cap off, right, and look at it from an objective perspective. What needs to happen for them to get something from this, to even beat us, you think? Because this is a team that's depleted, underperforming, somewhat low on confidence, but then in these one-off games, it's kind of a you'll never know kind of deal, right? Like it's not set in stone.
This is a team that today especially is going to have to score quickly. They're going to have to basically work with the time as their favor and score within the first 10, get the fans on their side. And they also, when you're down on your luck, sometimes you get a couple of chances and you put them away really early. It'll shift the momentum. And if they can hit you twice, I still feel like Liverpool has the firepower, and they have such a weak back line that even 2 down, we could come back and mount a counter and eventually win the game. But this team needs to score. They need to go 2 up. They have to go 2 up. But I really feel like if they do not go 2 up, they've got absolutely no chance at taking anything from this game. Maybe a tie, but they have no chances to win the game if they don't at least go 2 up before halftime.
With the way we performed against Fulham, and this is for both of you gentlemen, where we went a man down with Robertson, it kind of felt like that Jurgen Klopp was still in the background there with the way that we fought, even with 10 men down. So, to your point, Gordo, if they go 2-0 up, I would still put money on us to win, to outright win by like 4-2 or 5-2, because, our team doesn't give up. And at the same time, Cersei, this is a team that has a very fragile, back line, very fragile, underbelly, kind of
Yeah.
like our old Brendan Rodgers teams. And that was like exemplified when we beat them 6-3. And a few weeks prior when they faced Chelsea, they went 2-0 up in the first 20 minutes. And then the game ended what? Like five, I forget, 4-2, 5-2. So it's gonna be an absolute roller coaster. But I guess the key is us not getting dragged into it and
Mm-hmm.
maintaining our principles of control, because particularly during the games that we've not taken 3 points from, there were instances where we were rushing things a bit, like case in point, the United game. So, do you feel that
Yeah.
that's the most important part, the control, or do you feel like now we can just get into a shootout with these guys and we'll come through whatever happens?
Well, it's a game of 4 quarters, really, isn't it? Because like
Right.
obviously you've got your 2 halves today, and you've got another 2 halves next month. Um, so we just need to control the game. We either need to control the game or just blow them away, where the home game is just a non-event. Um,
Mm.
so you know, as even if we're down, we lose 1-0. I think the defeat in a bigger picture won't hurt us. I just think it would just mentally ask the questions. Oh, wait, are they starting to crack? And then you got all this outside noise. So it is important for us to win this, but more for a mental reason than a progression reason. Because unless we completely blow them away and we can just turn it into a non-event back at Anfield. But yeah, we the biggest thing is we just need to control the game, and whether as long as we don't lose, I'll take a draw and take them back to Anfield. Obviously, the win will be great. Good bounce back from Sunday. We just don't need to lose, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kevin here saying it's 8 a.m. down there in New Zealand. Good to hear from you, Kevin. I'll be having a bong and a bourbon for this game. It seems like the kind of game, perfect kind of game to do so, to be honest. And have a good one, man. I hope you enjoy it. But on that note, Cersei, you talked about what you wanted to happen to close out this pre-match, so I could give you guys time to kind of sort yourselves, put on the game on TV there. What do you think is going to happen? What's your prediction here for this tie? Do you see us blowing them away, like you said, or you think it's going to be like a controlled kind of thing where we win 2-0 or something like that?
I'll go for a 2-2. Actually,
2-2, really?
not really.
You want to
I know,
elaborate?
I know what I publicly want to say, and I did. I made a mistake on Sunday because I put us down as winning 6-0. So no, I'm just gonna publicly sit on the fence and go on 2-2 with this.
That's fair. That's fair. Gordo, are you as pessimistic as Cersei over here? Especially after Sunday's result. I remember you went 4-3 in the morning, 4-3/6-1, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Are
When
you going with either one, or you got something in between?
so I'd go 4-3, but it's a lot less nervy than the 4-3 looks at the. It'll be like 3-0. Spurs will come back, score 2. We'll score 1. We'll basically just turn it back on, score 1, and they can have one at the end, a throwaway, and it looks a lot tighter than the game actually is. But then that's just based on how it normally goes against Spurs. But I look at that lineup and I really don't see them touching us unless they can get behind us and the front three can get some magic. I don't know. I just don't see it. But my gut tells me 3-4, something real close, kind of nervy at the end. But as a whole, over 90 minutes, not as close as the scoreline looks.
I'm thinking I went with 4-2 at the start during the morning show. I think I'm gonna go with you and your 4-3 there. Kwanzaa just worries me. I don't know. He just worries me. I know there was a point where we were talking about him being the next Virgil van Dijk and stuff like that. But whenever it's I mean it is his fault, right? Why I'm kind of nervous on his end. But he's just a young kid. But
Yeah.
if Spurs are going to target a side, right, common sense would put them on that right side, or right-sided center back, who's a little prone to some rash challenges and stuff like that. So, but I do think we have enough to pull through. Obviously, with practically our best lineup, as the best players that we could field at this point in the season. But gentlemen, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you guys joining me here. For everyone watching, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever. It helps us. We just passed 1K subscribers at YouTube a few months. Oh, no, not a few months ago, a month ago. And we're really grateful for all your support. So we're looking to get hopefully to 2K by the end of 2025. So yeah, hopefully that comes in. Um, Anon here saying based on the confidence we're all showing, we're going to lose 9-0. I mean, that's currently a shout there. But gentlemen, I'll give you time to wind down, put the game on the TV, but tune in for post match around 10-15 minutes after the final whistle. But if there's nothing else, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you at the post match.
Enjoy.
Reds.